2-2 Saints, we think, are okay. They've had flashes of excellence and flashes of why can't you score against the Eagles. Chiefs, undefeated, and they've had flashes of excellence, I would say, and flashes of just being kind of mid. Patrick Mahomes said he's unsatisfied with his play, and here's his numbers. Hobbs always says this is mid. Do you think Mahomes needs a huge game here against the Saints?
I actually do, and I think we're going to see one. So I think the Chiefs' defense has been extraordinary, just like it was last year. And I think that we have, because of last year, Coach, proof of concept that no matter the weapons Patrick has, when he is fully dialed in, he can dial it up multiple notches. Last year in the regular season, as we talked about ad nauseum, it was above average year for every quarterback ever, and also the worst year of Mahomes' career. Like, that's what Mahomes was last year. We can show you the numbers. And then in the playoffs, with that exact same set of weapons, harder competition, on the road in tougher conditions, he went right back to being vintage Patrick Mahomes. Those are all basically career averages there, which for him is statistically the best quarterback numbers ever. And I think, Coach, I don't think he should feel this way, but I think he feels a real burden for Rasheed being hurt. Not because he dove and hit his knee, but because him throwing the pick, which was the fourth straight game where he's had like a
right.
Like where was that throw going play, set off the chain of events that ended up with Rasheed getting hurt. And the Chiefs have an opportunity here, if they win Monday night, go into the bye 5-0, despite their top running back, their number one wide receiver offseason acquisition, their number one returning wide receiver, all suffering significant injuries, and the quarterback not playing great, and go into it be like, you know what I mean? We had the hardest part of our schedule taken care of. We get into the bye 5-0, fix it. Good. So I think Mahomes is going to be dialed in, and a dialed-in Patrick Mahomes, in my experience, plays great.
Yeah, he absolutely needs to play well at some point, and he's been a force multiplier, and he's been outstanding in so many ways. But recently, when you look at last year and when you especially look at this year, it's been totally different. It's so strange when you look at the numbers. So you see his MVP years, you see the TD percentage last year, which was his worst. It's a little bit better. But look at the interception percentage last year was his worst. Now it's double what that was last year. He's got his lowest passer rating. So he's gone from the force multiplier to people having to compensate for him, which is such a strange thing to think of when you think of Kansas City. And there have been a ton of challenges, and he's going to continue to have challenges with losing Rashee Rice. But at some point, we've got to see some semblance of what he was.
It seemed, look, over the last year and a half, he's been the quarterback, kind of like Tom Brady was in years. Do whatever it takes to win. Whatever it takes to win, he's going to do it. That is evidenced by their win. What is it? The win differential, like 54 points.
Oh, the point differential.
Win streak. The point differential.
61 points over a 10-game win.
Yeah, which is the lowest ever. I don't think he's going to have a huge game. I think the way he would have a huge game is if New Orleans was scoring a ton of points, which I don't think. If New Orleans would put up 30-something points and it became a shootout, I think Mahomes would win a shootout. But I think the defense is going to give New Orleans trouble. I don't think the Saints are going to score a lot, and I think Mahomes will kind of be like he's been, maybe a little bit better than he's been in some of these games.
Just real quick before you go, it's really what's weird, because I don't honestly disagree with a lot of what Coach said. The only thing I would add to it is he instantly went back to being force multiplier Patrick in the playoffs. In the playoffs he was brilliant.
Don't you think it's so strange that we talk about having to overcome Patrick's mistakes? That's the strangest part of the conversation.
Right. So that's the part that I don't think was the case last year. Last year, I don't care. I know what the numbers are. Yep. I watched those interceptions. He wasn't missing throws. It was a lot of Kadarius Toney bumping the ball in the air. It was drops. It was stuff like that. This year, he has 5 picks in 4 games, which is bananas, and 4 of them were awful throws.
Awful.
And I'm not denying. So that to me is there. He still never fumbles. He still has one of the lowest sack rates in the league, which is, I think, a sneaky, super important quarterback stat of avoiding sacks. It's just every game he's had a throw where it's like, huh? And so that, to me, is fixable. Like that, and I know he talked about getting back to his fundamentals and the footwork stuff, that he was relying too much on his arm. But he said that after week 3, and then right in the beginning of week 4 is the play that Rasheed got hurt on.
Was he throwing that to Travis?
That was to Travis, but the thing was...
It's like kind of a lot of people there. I don't know. I just wondered, like...
No, but you're right. There was a guy in front and behind him. But Mahomes has made those layered throws to Travis Kelce in tight windows for 7 years, and it just sailed on him.
Yeah.
I don't even remember if it sailed on. Yeah, it did. It sailed on him, which was weird. So that's the thing to me that is imminently fixable. It's just he has 1 or 2 of these a game where it's like, huh? And I think that can be cleaned up easily.
I don't think he needs a great game. Right? They clearly don't need him to play a great game to win. His mystique isn't going away. Other teams are still going to fear him because you feel like whatever it takes to win, he's going to do. And it's possible, Coach, that mystique actually grows. Like if they can keep winning games with Patrick Mahomes being so-so, teams may be like, because in the playoffs, you know he's going to play his best, and that could even grow the Chiefs' mystique.
For so long, we talked about Patrick being Superman, and at some point, Patrick was going to have a bad game. The defense had to step up, and now it's just the opposite. It's the defense and the special teams are the Supermen, and now we're saying at some point Patrick's got to step up. And this conversation hasn't been 1 week. It hasn't been just this season. We've had a lot of elements of that last season too. I'm not sure what exactly the answer is.
So that's that. Go ahead.
Well, let me put out a theory. Completion percentage right now, he's 13th. If he completed 1 more pass per game, he just had 4 more completions, he'd be third best. He'd be in that range. He'd be under 72%. Yes. It's 1 pass.
But the completion percentage is
that's a completion percentage. That's fine. But he's still 13th. It's mid. And if you complete 1 more pass, the other thing, like if you look at the people we're still early in the season, all the guys at the top of yards per game, it's Jordan Love because he came alive at the back half of the Vikings game. Yes, and he played Geno because the Lions were scoring a ton. Dak,
come back.
And coming back and throwing the ball against the Saints. So it's almost, not saying the numbers are wrong, but if the Saints came out and scored 24 points, then it's like, wow, what a performance by Patrick.
I agree that there is an element of, if it's going to, if we need 30, I'll find a way to get us 30. Yeah. But if we don't, I do agree with that. But I also, because I try to be as fair at all times, I'm not going to deny the fact that there has been 1 or 2 throws in every game that he flatly, and this is where I disagree with you a bit, Coach, last year wasn't making. Last year, I don't care what the numbers were. I thought Patrick Mahomes last year, except for a 3-game stretch, played that quarterback position better than any quarterback in the league could have played it for the Chiefs. As far as dealing,
with all the drops
dealing with the drops, dealing with all of that, finding it, and then in the playoffs, I thought played close to 4 flawless games of football to win them a championship. This year, it has not been that. This year, I thought he played really, really well in week 1 with 1 bizarre pass in the red zone turnover against Baltimore. But then
and
that
by
red
his
zone
standards, though, week 1 wasn't even great. 1 touchdown, 1 pick. For him.
Sure. But the reason I'm saying, but if that 1 pass I'm talking about was a good pass, then all of a sudden it's a 300-yard game with 2 touchdowns, 0 turnovers, and a blowout of Baltimore. It was 1 mistake. But he has then made that same exact type of mistake in the following 3 games. I know he'll clean it up. The reason I'm saying he needs to have a big game is I think he has extra Rashee Rice motivation because of how he got hurt. And also, if they win, this is just kind of a fun little stat, I guess. If they win, this will be the 3rd different time he has won 10 or more straight starts, playoffs and regular season. The only quarterbacks in league history to have 3 or more 10-game winning streaks would be him, Elway, Joe Montana, Peyton Manning, and Tom Brady. So it feels like he should join that list, I think.
Yeah.
Let's head on to Devontae watch. Every team seems to be calling about Devontae, but can every team afford him? Not necessarily. He's owed almost $14 million. Diana Rossini reporting that the Chiefs and Bills would be in the mix if Vegas was willing to eat some salary. So, Brew, who needs Devontae more, Buffalo or Kansas City?
Buffalo by a mile. Like, Kansas City doesn't need Devontae Adams. They showed last year they can win the Super Bowl without a great receiver. Maybe they'll get Rashee Rice back this season. But even if they don't, Amari Cooper, DeAndre Hopkins, they can get another good receiver that's not on Devontae Adams' level and still have a great chance to win the Super Bowl. Buffalo, I don't think Buffalo's a legit Super Bowl contender. I think they could win the division. I definitely think they'll make the playoffs, but I don't think they're a threat at all. They don't do anything great. Josh is Superman. He's their one great player. They don't